All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, with a little less than a week to go in this year's MLB season, we still don't know who is going to be crowned as the champions of the National League East. Now, you have the defending World Series champions in the Atlanta Braves going up against the upstarts from Flushing in the New York Mets that want what the Braves have. Now, we know that both the Mets and the Braves at this point are going to be playoff bound, as both of these clubs will more than likely win 100 games. But who will win the division and also avoid having to play in the wild card round? Now, one game currently separates these two teams in the standings. The Mets have the lead right now at the moment. And so far this season, New York has won 9 of the 16 meetings with Atlanta. But either team is going to need to win at least 2 out of 3 in this series to really put themselves in a very good spot to win this division. You think about the resiliency of the Braves. They got down early, had a slow start, and they've really picked it up. At one point, they were down 10 and a half games, and they've come back. And it's not to say that the Mets have been playing bad. The Mets have been playing good. It's just the fact that the Braves have been playing a little bit better. And, we saw the Braves overtake the Mets on 2 separate occasions for the division lead, only to give it right back. And at some point, something has to give for either side. And it's probably going to happen in this series here. So Friday night, we've got Jacob deGrom going up against Max Fried. You've got Max Scherzer going against Kyle Wright on Saturday. And then Sunday it's Chris Bassett against Charlie Morton. And for me, first things first with Jacob deGrom, he did not look good. One of his worst outings in his professional career this past Sunday against Oakland, as the A's really roughed him up. So being the professional that he is, I expect him to bounce back and have a much better outing when he takes the mound tomorrow night in Georgia against the Braves. Now, that's not going to go out there and guarantee a win for the Mets, but I think DeGrom is going to do his part. Max Scherzer, he's playoff tested, but at the same time, we saw this Braves team rough up Scherzer in the playoffs last year when Scherzer was pitching for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then, of course, Chris Bassett going against Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton is a playoff tested vet naturally from his time with the Atlanta Braves, but also with the Houston Astros as well. It's really going to be important to see which of these lineups can get to these starting pitchers early. You want to try to make this, a bullpen affair and try to really, begin to tee off if you're one of these lineups. And which player, which X factor, which unknown player is going to step up in this series and make some key plays. We got to wait and see for that. You look at the closers. Edwin Diaz is having the best season of his career, and he's picking the right time as he's set to be a free agent at season's end for the Mets. You got Kenley Jansen, a proven veteran, for so many years with the Los Angeles Dodgers and now with the Braves. And then you look at some of the key players in both of these lineups. Austin Riley has been solid all season long. I said he was going to be an MVP candidate at the beginning of the season, and he's right there in that mix. Ronald Acuna Jr. is still working his way back from the ACL injury, but a 75% Ronald Acuna is still better than a lot of the outfielders out there in the majors right now. You got Dansby Swanson and Matt Olson in the middle of that lineup for the Braves. And then on the flip side for the Mets, Pete Alonso has been steady Eddie for the Mets in that lineup. Eddie Escobar is swinging hot bat for the Mets right now, as is Francisco Lindor. Jeff McNeil has been a solid contact hitter all year long. Brandon Nimmo could be an X factor for the Mets in this series. Can he get a base and make some things happen? We got to wait and see. And then you got the durable veteran back there in Mark Canha. Now, neither team can afford to give away at-bats in this series. And you're talking about two teams, two lineups that know how to work the count and put pressure on opposing hitters. So I want to see if they're going to be up to their usual task in this series. I think it's going to be a classic chess match this weekend between the Braves and Mets. Buck Showalter and Brian Schnicker. You're talking about the managers. Obviously, Brian Schnicker knows how to get it done in October as he helped his team win a world championship last year. And then, of course, Buck Showalter. The Mets are going to be another club that he's taken to the postseason. You also got to factor in the New York Yankees, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Baltimore Orioles. Not to mention, he did lead the Texas Rangers to a winning season when he was there as well. So you think about this series, and at the end of the day, the playoffs have already begun for both of these teams. Nobody's going to come out there and say that they're scoreboard watching, but obviously, you're thinking about your rivals going into this series, and now it's put up or shut up time for both of these clubs, and obviously they're going to be in playoff mode, and it's all hands on deck because both teams want to do whatever they need to do in order to win the division and get that first round bye, that coveted first round bye. Who has the edge? It's going to be one of those for me. I'm going to give the edge to the Braves because number one, they are the defending champs, and not only the defending division champs. Excuse me, they're also the defending World Series champs. There's a lot of seasoned vets on this team, but the Mets are upstart and they're hungry, and we've seen that all season long from the Metropolitans. But at the end of the day, regardless of who wins this series, neither team is out of the woods because you got the Braves finishing up on the road in Miami against the Marlins, while the Mets will host the Washington Nationals. And like I always say, you can't pencil in wins against teams that are out of it this time of the year because you got some young, hungry kids on those clubs that are trying to make a name for themselves. And you have some veterans that are also trying to get roster spots and spring training invites, maybe not with the team that they're playing for right now, but with somebody else. And in the case of the Marlins, that's going to be their last series under manager Don Mattingly. So I guarantee you they're going to go out there and try to ball out. Not saying that they're going to beat the Braves, not saying that the Nationals are going to beat the Mets, but it's something that you always, and I repeat, always have to be wary of. So at the end of the day, I think we're going to see three quality games this weekend between the Braves and the Mets. It's going to be very close and, more importantly, very intense. And both teams know that they have a very slim margin of error. But one thing for sure, I do know for a fact that once this weekend is over, we're going to be a lot closer to figuring out who's going to be the champions of the NL East. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.